Hi, this is Reddit Confessions channel. For as long as I can remember, I believed in the kind of love that grew over time, love that was built slowly, piece by piece, like a home. You put in the effort, stayed patient during the quiet days, and held on during the storms. And for the past 10 years, I lived by that belief. Every choice I made, every plan I had for the future, revolved around the idea that love, real, lasting love, was something you worked for. That belief shaped my marriage. I thought we were solid. I thought we were one of those rare couples that really made it work. My wife, Meredith, was my anchor. She had this calm presence about her, soft brown eyes that once made my chest tighten, a warm voice that felt like a lullaby after long days. We didn't live a flashy life, but I thought what we had was something deeper, something unshakable. And then, without warning, the foundation cracked. It started on a Thursday evening, a day like any other. I had stayed at work a little later, finished up a few emails, and then drove home under a sky that was just starting to blush with sunset. I was tired, sure, but the kind of tired that melts away when you walk through the front door and see the person you love. I stepped inside to the comforting scent of lavender and vanilla candles she liked to light. I remember smiling to myself, loosening my tie, and getting ready to greet her. But just before I called out her name, I heard her voice coming from the living room. She was talking on the phone, her tone casual and like the way she sounded when catching up with an old friend. At first, I thought nothing of it, but then I heard my name. "Tobias just doesn't get it anymore," she said. "I feel like I can't breathe around him." My feet stopped moving. The air in my lungs froze. She laughed a little, not cruelly, just exhausted. "He's so predictable, so boring. I don't even know who I am when I'm with him. I haven't loved him in years." Those words were so casual, so smooth, so devastating. I didn't move. I couldn't. My hand was still on the doorknob, my bag still over my shoulder. My mind went blank, a siren of silence echoing through my thoughts. I wish I could say I walked in there and confronted her. That I demanded answers, screamed, cried, asked her to explain. But I didn't. I stood there like a ghost in my own house, the words echoing in my ears. Then, I did the one thing I never thought I would do. I turned around, walked to the bedroom, and packed a bag. I didn't even know where I was going. I didn't have a plan. But something inside me knew I couldn't stay. Not now. Not after that. I passed our wedding photo on the dresser, the one where we looked so happy, so in love. Her smile wide, her arms wrapped around me, my own grin impossibly proud. I stared at it, wondering when that version of us had disappeared. Wondering how long she had been pretending. When I walked back down the hallway, she was still on the couch, laughing. She didn't see me at first, but when she did, the look on her face changed instantly. "Tobias," she said, confusion knitting her brows. "What are you doing?" I didn't answer right away. I let the silence speak for me. And then I said, softly, clearly, "I hope you find what you're looking for, Meredith." She started to speak, but I didn't wait. I walked out the door, closed it gently behind me, and stepped into the cold night air. I sat in my car for a long time, staring at the steering wheel. I could hear my pulse in my ears, her words still echoing. I haven't loved him in years. My hands shook, my chest hurt, but I started the engine. I drove with no destination, letting the road stretch endlessly ahead. I passed neighborhoods, empty streets, glowing traffic lights, all of it a blur. Eventually, I pulled into a quiet parking lot near the ocean, a spot we used to go to in the early days. I turned off the engine and sat there in silence. Then the phone rang. Her name lit up the screen. I shouldn't have answered, but I did. "Where are you?" she asked, her voice trembling. I was quiet. "Tobias, I heard you," I said. "Everything." The line went quiet. A breath. Then another. I didn't mean it like that, she finally whispered. Don't lie to me. She was silent again. I hung up. And that's when it started to sink in. This wasn't just about one night. This wasn't a slip. This was something that had been building inside her for years while I was too blind to see it. She had chosen silence over honesty. She had watched me love her while she quietly backed away. I didn't sleep that night. I just stared at the ocean, waves crashing against the rocks. I watched the sky shift from black to pale blue. I checked my phone. 16 missed calls, 2 texts. One read, "We need to talk." The other, "You're being dramatic." Dramatic. I had just found out my wife hadn't loved me in years, and I was the dramatic one. The next morning, I found a diner on the edge of town. Old sign, greasy windows, the smell of coffee and bacon. I walked in, sat at the counter, and ordered a coffee. The waitress didn't ask questions. She just poured the coffee and slid over a menu. I stared at it but didn't read. I was still somewhere between numb and shattered. Then, as if the universe hadn't finished with me, the door opened. Footsteps. A pause. And then her voice. "Tobias." I didn't turn right away. When I did, she was standing there, hair messy, eyes tired. She looked out of place. She looked like guilt. She sat down slowly. "You disappeared," she said. "No," I corrected. "I left." "Can we talk?" she asked. "We're already talking." She fidgeted, picked at a napkin, looked everywhere but at me. "What you heard?" I was venting. "I didn't mean it." I stared at her. "You said you haven't loved me in years." She opened her mouth, closed it. I was scared, she finally admitted. "I didn't know how to leave. So you stayed and let me keep loving you," I said. "You let me believe everything was fine." She had no answer. I finished my coffee, left a few bills on the table, and stood. "So what now?" she asked, her voice cracking. I paused. "Now I figure out who I am without you." And then I left. Not just the diner. Not just her. I left the life I thought I had. I drove for hours, letting the miles stretch between me and the version of me that stayed too long. Eventually, I called my brother, someone who wouldn't ask questions, who would let me crash until I figured it all out. When I pulled into his driveway, he just nodded. "Tough day, tough decade," I said. We sat on the porch. No advice, no judgments, just silence and a cold drink. And for the first time in years, I started to feel something I hadn't felt in a long time: free.